Hello, everybody. We should be live now, Daniel. Um, I'm here today with Daniel. I'm Adam. We're going to celebrate, explore, and do a live demo of the new Beatmaker version 3. We're going to go through all of the new features, the new views, all of the exciting stuff, and we will also do a raffle. As usual, we're going to be giving out 2 free licenses to the new title Chromed here. And that's our Hyperpop Beatmaker title. All you have to do is be active in the chat, show your support, or ask questions, and then your name will be entered at the end into a random name picker, and you might win a license. Daniel, do you want to say hello?
Hello. It's been a while since we did something like that, so I'm excited to be back in the streaming chair, so to speak. Yep.
Exactly, yeah. So we noticed there were some questions about Beatmaker 3. There's a lot of new stuff. So we thought this stream would be a good idea, a nice informative place for us to show you really what you can do in Beatmaker version 3 to answer any questions that come through the chat. And also just to play some sounds and have a little fun. Maybe make a demo. We'll see what time we have for that, but we'll go through titles, and by request, all the Beatmaker titles are in here, but in the chat, if anybody wants to see a specific title, feel free to say that, and we'll pull it up. But yeah, so I mean, just to dive in, first and foremost, give some context on the philosophy behind this upgrade and why we did it. The main reasons that we did it were to streamline an existing series that worked pretty well. The titles were phenomenal products that people had high success with in different genres and productions. But there was this big, like, overarching weight on the user's shoulder as we released more and more titles, and that's all the 14, 15 different plugins that you have to navigate. And one big problem for me, Daniel, I don't know if you relate, but producer problems in general, knowing like what plugins you own or forgetting what sounds are cool or just navigating your dense library is, I think, an increasing issue.
For sure. Especially with the Beatmaker series because we have, I think, no, not I think, it is the series with the most titles we have so far. So
Yes.
yeah, obviously, it's way easier. And I think what's also cool is like when you switch in between, and I mean, we'll get to that. When you have an instance and a track and you just switch titles like that instead of having to copy stuff. So I think that's pretty cool.
Exactly. So the main fundamental philosophy was we knew that we had to make this series a little bit more navigable from, I don't know if that was a word that I made up, maybe, but the ability to navigate the
Coined it.
series. Navigatable, probably, yeah. But to be able to do that more easily so that all you need to remember is that you own Beatmaker, and yeah, there are a bunch of different titles and drum kits, but within that one plugin then is where you are able to browse for everything. So that's really the philosophy of what we tried to do. And in parallel, we also were building it on a new tech stack that's more streamlined for development, so it's easier for us to release stable products that are reliable. It's a newer foundation for us. So there were multiple strategic initiatives, but in doing that, we also had this open door to improve the product because we had a lot of Beatmaker users that we actually talked to. We surveyed, we interviewed face to face, including non-users, people that didn't even know Beatmaker, because that's an important perspective for us to consider as well, because we also want new people to find Beatmaker and to make use of it. So we got a lot of validation. We had hypotheses about what we thought we should change. We validated things, we questioned things, we tested things. And that was the governing philosophy of why we did this. It was time to revamp the old version because the old version was a bit stale visually, and it was a little uninspiring for new users to try to navigate the layout. So yeah, that's the philosophy. But I think what we'll do here is go through every single, I'm going to make it really digestible for someone who's never seen it. It has been on sale for, I think, about a week and a half or 2 weeks maybe.
Yeah.
So maybe you have seen this already, and if you have questions, it's a great opportunity for you to ask directly, because I was the product manager along the development, so I know a lot about this. Daniel knows a lot about this. Daniel gave a course on it already. So yeah, anything that comes up, we're here to help and we're here to show you. So my idea was to just go view by view, because the main thing that's new here is you have some sort of frame layout, which was not in Beatmaker 2. And so I think it's helpful to go through the main views here so you understand like what their purposes are and when you might need them as a user. So the main front view this is the title view. This is exactly what you're used to in version 2. I actually have an old Beatmaker. Yeah, this is Glory also. So this is Beatmaker version 2 of Glory. So that title view is basically the same thing. This is where the instrument is loaded. You have access to the main effects. You have access to the one-shots and the loops on the keyboard. And you'll notice some differences here in that layout. But so this title view is where you conduct the instrument. It loads by default when you open the plugin. It picks a title and it loads it. You can play one shots on the white keys. There's labeling. If you forget what they are, you can hover and it'll tell you what they are. And then the black keys control the loops. And you'll notice a fundamental difference between Beatmaker 2 and Beatmaker 3, and there were reasons for that, which we did actually validate in our user surveying. In general, this split keyboard approach, which many people may have gotten used to, especially existing users, which is fine. The more you work with a tool, the more you familiarize with it. But we found that for newer users or less experienced users or people who didn't use Beatmaker for that long, this is really overwhelming to look at and to learn. And it is something we do in a lot of our UGM products, but we decided that it was in our best interest to streamline this approach and have everything be more compact. So that's the difference, is that the loop keys are on the black keys and the one-shots are on the white keys. And in the old layout, you had a left and right layout where you had everything kind of expanded. But another benefit is this is more accessible to users with smaller MIDI keyboards, like 25-key keyboards, producers on the go. It's better on a laptop. There's a couple of reasons why we did this, and we did test them. And it makes it really just cleaner to look at. So it's easier to hop right in and see what the loaded title has to offer.
That's actually what I like about it, because I am using a 25 key one most of the time. And yeah, so I think it's more accessible for sure.
Yeah, you don't need a 40. I mean, I'm on a 61 right now, but I used to have a 49. And you can reach everything on the old layout on a 49, but like you have to be kind of seated in a studio. You need a desk with that kind of keyboard. So
right.
It's a totally different ballpark.
But, and also important to say that we will raffle out 2 copies of Chrome throughout this stream. So be active in the chat and we'll pick winners as usual.
Yes, exactly. I'm already seeing some questions. Is it possible to have multi-outs? Yes, but I'm going to get there in the mixer. I'll show you exactly how to do that. But yeah, so I'm going to stay focused here on title view. So the main playback area, that's the main difference, is the staggering of the keys, but it's all the same. You still can access the loops. You still can access the one-shots. If you want to change the loops, you can select the active style, which will overwrite the loops on the black keys. So now they're different. And as with the old Beatmaker, you can immediately access the MIDI from the drag and drop handle. And there's also a new edit kind of pencil icon here that you'll see on both the one-shot and the loop keys. The loop keys I'll show you later. That's one of these other views on the left. But for the samples, this is actually where you can change the sample. So you could do that in Beatmaker version 2. There was this little bus structure at the bottom that you used to be able to like toggle through and step through the different snares of the title. And we did a lot of UX work and testing on that experience to make it more intuitive. And the idea, the general thinking is like I'm playing a phrase and I just don't like the clap that's in this kit, so I'll edit it. And here you can actually preview all the claps just by clicking them once. And I can double click to lock one in, and I can also drag and drop one to assign it. But so now I've got this new clap in my kit, and from there you have a couple of control adjustments. You can lower the dynamics, which is like its velocity response. You can pitch it. You can tune it a little better to the kit. The decay will kind of chop off the tail, like a sample fade, and the attack is also similar, but the front, it actually fades out the transient. So that's useful. I find a lot of use in those controls for like the cymbals if I don't want the tail to be so long or if something is too transient. But so yeah, this is a brand new experience. This doesn't have a dedicated view because it's just a quick, we wanted the user experience to be like, I quickly want to change these sounds. I'm finger drumming and I hate this kick. Like, why don't I find a better kick? You know, that's how you would do this.
You're hating on the samples here, man.
No, all the samples. Glory is one of my favorite titles. There's no hate on the samples.
It's like I hate that kick.
I was just emulating an experience where I might hate a sound, but it's pretty rare. So yeah, that is a great workflow. Surprisingly, when we tested that, we thought that this might be a good idea, and we tested it, but we weren't really sure. And when we interviewed people blindly, we gave them some tasks to perform without telling them how to do them. And it was pretty intuitive. People would immediately be like, boom, I don't like the snare, I changed the snare. And we didn't even have to question it. It went like 100%, it passed with flying colors. So I'm really happy about that experience, that workflow, because I think when you're actually working on a song, that's kind of how your brain is working more. But yeah, wrapping up this main title view. So you've got, just as in the other titles, you got the drum kit selectors, same as Beatmaker 2, and you've got a mix mode selector, same as Beatmaker 2. Every title in Beatmaker 3 that already existed, for example, Glory, contains all the same content. So you've got all the same kits, all the same effects, etc., that are in Glory. So it is just a new version in that it's in the new plugin and it's compatible with the new browser, etc. So you've got your special control here in Glory. It's a bass note, which I actually think I muted because, yeah, I muted it because in the track mixer, which I'll show you in a second. There's the bass. So in Glory, the special control is the tuning of the bass drum, which you can actually draw in with MIDI to conduct in real time. But that is where the special control lives for every title. And then the sweep control is like a global filter. If I can play. I'm realizing I'm at an automated tempo that is extremely slow. There we go. Yeah, and then the mix modes, you've got a bunch of 10 for each title, some really fun mix modes that you can dial in. And they're all different for every title. Some of them are more creative, some of them are more useful. You've got an ambient send here. So the general layout of these controls from Beatmaker 2 did change a little bit as well. So you used to have this pitch wheel kick snare balance, and what that does is it just focuses more on the snare or the kick when a loop is playing or in the instrument. So the kick would fade out or the snare would fade out, which is cool for live performance. And then beat intensity, which is kind of an overall dynamic control. But we actually made a decision there in that there are more useful controls to put on this main view. So you can still find those controls in this little settings, this loop playback settings page. So you still have the same controls here, kick and snare balance, loop intensity, and then the micro timing. But what we did instead was we put the global filter, which I just demonstrated, and we put an ambient send, which is actually super useful right on the main page, because otherwise you'd have to go into the mixer and try to find, like, if you don't want reverb, that's a pretty standard decision right away, is that you don't want reverb. You're trying to mix clean. Maybe you've got your own reverb in your track already. But
oh, that's right. We didn't have, the ambience was somewhere on the bottom before, right?
In the old one, this was always confusing to me, actually. This was a UX thing because every mix preset has its own ambience that's designed for it. And and when it's by default, you change a mix mode and it's the ambience here just says mix preset. But I always thought that was confusing as a user because it's not labeled that this is the ambience.
We had beat intensity instead, right? Or something
over
like that.
Here,
That was another...
Beat intensity was the control on the right, which is now ambience in Beatmaker 3. And that's because it's so easy now to just make it dry or drown it out.
Right.
Like, I think you want control as a user when you're in this quick interface of the loaded title. You know you're using Glory. You want to use Glory in a song. So we got to give you only the controls that matter the most for changing the sound. The mixer views, which I'll get to in a minute, there's a lot of detail here. And if this were on the main page, it would turn off a lot of people from being creative. Like when you're in the flow, you don't want to look at something like this. You want to look at something that can deliver you what you think it'll deliver you. So yeah, that's the main view. That's why we changed to put the ambience there. But you can change the ambience mode within the mixer. So, and it's tied to this. So this is the same control. I'll get here. I don't want to get ahead of myself. But I think that just about wraps up this main view, which is the title view. You still have a latch button here, so you can click that and a loop will continue to play without my hands. and that's great. Same controls. It's all the same language from Beatmaker 2. We didn't remove features that were essential or that were iconic, or if anything, we only added stuff or reorganized things or streamlined things.
Yeah, even the latch is such a small little thing, but especially if you're like tweaking the sound, it makes sense. You don't have to hold down a key the whole time. You just like click whatever loop you want to edit, and then it keeps playing while you mess around with the settings. So yeah, it's such a small thing, but I think it makes sense. And of course, we had that before as well, but yeah, still.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, so I'm going to get into the next view here. I'm actually going to go to this one first. This is Title Browser. This one's easy. This is why I'm doing it first. It gives you context. This shows you all the titles you have installed on your system. So even if you're trialing something, it'll show it if it's installed and if it's available to use. I have all of them here, so it's easy to navigate. You have the new one, Chromed, which again, we're raffling off 2 free licenses for Chromed. If you're active in the chat or asking questions in the chat, then Simon on the UGM account is going to enter the names into a random selector at the end of the stream. Chromed is super fun. I'm going to actually spend a little time in a little bit probably just showcasing Chrome because it sounds really fun. But yeah, so in the titles view, you've got the titles that are installed. You can click them to load them into the main view. And then you get the little tagline to give you more context and a reminder of what they are. So I won't change one now only because this track I'm on is for a specific little demo snippet, which I might as well play now. I had this little loop that I found. I was trying to make as cool of a beat with as little effort as possible. So I just found a loop. And then I paired it with Glory. Whoops, hang on. We've got a player control sync thing. Got to change my sync mode so it starts on the downbeat. And that's why I had the bass muted. So I'm going to remute that bass there. So use case wise, you'll see I'm just dragging in the phrase note here. There's one MIDI note that corresponds to the loop key. So as long as it's held, it's playing the loop. But then here is the dragged out MIDI. So it's the same exact playback. Well, I changed the style. If it were the same style, it would be the same. I think it was called Future, this one here. So now this should be the same. And it's the same as the dragged MIDI. And this is just a preset in Glory, and it already sounds like a beat, a produced song. It's very cool and effective. And that's really what Beatmaker is about. That's why I did a couple of these, which I can play later for fun. But yeah, so title view allows you to navigate the catalog for what you have. It redirects you to the UGM app if you don't have something or if you're missing something. You can start trials from the UGM app. If you don't, there's a 7-day free trial as of now for all of the titles. So if you're not sure which titles are for you, you can do that. But other than starting a trial, another really cool thing which is new is the second view here, which is the global preset browser. Now this was a lot of work for us, but what this does basically, I'm going to filter only for factory because I've got some random user presets in here, but you'll now see all of the presets in the entire series within this view. I have
even the ones you don't own, right?
That's right. So if I click on global here, that's going to filter for everything under the sun. So if you only own 2 or so Beatmaker titles, showing global is going to show you everything that even if you don't own the titles. And the reason that's in there is because it helps you when you're filtering. There's a couple of unique filtering criteria to help you find sounds that work well in your song. And we thought that it's a fun experiment. It's more creative to actually allow you to hear stuff that you don't own, because then you could start a trial. Maybe you find something that works well in your song. You could start a free trial, or you could buy the title and then it's yours forever. But the reason is that every preset item has an audio preview. So if I click the preview button, you can actually hear what's happening, and I can filter by title. Right now it's showing everything, I believe, alphabetically, title-wise, but I can select one or multiple. So I can select circuits, dope, and cozy, and I could close this, and then only those 3 titles are going to show here. And you can preview things. it shows me right away a recommended tempo, which has to do with the loops and the style of that preset, obviously. The one
That's
shots,
what I was wondering. That the previews are in the recommended tempo always, right? They're not in whatever
right.
project you're in right now,
Exactly,
right?
yeah. It's the audio renderings of the previews. That's based on the recommended tempo, and that is coming from the style, yeah. So if you search for, you can set the tempo range here up here. So if I knew I was doing something slower like lo-fi, maybe I don't go over 100. Let's just do 100, 0 to 100. And then I can actually remove these titles because maybe there's a cool preset in a different title for lo-fi. Like, let's see, 98 beats per minute circuits. That's a cool, like, super computerized sound. I'm going to favorite it, which is another feature that we'll get to. Actually, we'll get to that now. Basically, it's simple. You can favorite presets, and then there's a favorites toggle that'll show you only the presets you favorited.
Which is kind of cool if you just want to mess around and you just browse through different sounds.
Yeah, and it's also very good. You can come back to them if you're browsing globally for presets that you don't own. You could favorite your favorite ones and then go back to it in the future. Maybe you get a paycheck, or you have $20 you find on the street. You can get a title, and whichever ones are favorited, you can be like, what did I like? Like, what did I used to like? I don't remember. Filter for it. You can also filter locally for only what's installed if you're trying to produce and you only want to remember what you favorited. I remember I favorited this dope one just because I was like, oh, this sounds super good for production.
Super dope.
Yeah, that's a thick kit. And then, yeah, you might also notice there are other filters here. So you can pick titles. You can select multiple or just one. You can set the tempo restrictions, which I've already done. But then you have mood and genre, and you'll notice that there are genre tags on every single preset, even within the same title. So you'll know, for example, like we say that cozy is a lo-fi title, and we'll say that dope is a hip-hop title. But we never meant for that to be a hard restriction. That's meant to kind of guide you. Like, that's what the kits are going to sound like, more or less. The styles are mostly going to focus on that. But we always want, like, we at UGM care a lot about creative inspiration and, like, not setting rules or boundaries. So these genre tags are actually, you'll notice there are different genres within single genre titles. Like in Cozy for lo-fi, you do have a drum and bass preset, an R&B preset, ambient, whatever comes up here. And the reason for that is because these are actually AI tags. So we rendered the preset, and then we had an algorithm that associates music with certain things, including genre. And that algorithm went through and tagged everything. So you kind of have these filters here that these presets could maybe work in different genres. And sure, they would also still work in lo-fi. But for example, like, let's see what ambient sounds like. And then let's see in Cozy what's totally different. Pop or IDM left field. What does this sound like? So definitely mechanical vibe, kind of. The rhythm. So sometimes it's rhythm informed, it's groove informed. Like, it'll be like, oh, that's a really poppy beat, but it also considers aesthetic. So the part of the magic is I actually don't even know how it works, because it's an AI algorithm. So it's been trained on models. But it's exciting to use, and you actually do see a lot of dope comes back as rap, hip hop, R&B. Like, that one seems consistent, but some of the other titles have some more unique stuff. So you can filter for genre here, and you can again select multiple. So if I wanted to do, I don't know, what do I want to do? Ambient and electro. It's kind of cool. Maybe minimal too. Maybe I make something chill electro. So you've got presets from everything coming up here. Let's just play a few. And that filter does use match any logic, is what we call. So as long as I'm filtering for these genres, it doesn't mean that all of these match every one of those. It means that they match at least one of them. Because again, it's a little more inspiring to work that way. The list might be really, really small. Even though there's like 1,000 presets, if you get too specific, you won't get meaningful results. So these are fun to listen through. So that's the genre filter. I think it's pretty straightforward. It's fun to use. And then similarly, you have a mood filter, which is even more subjective, but you can just add a couple of descriptors to help you navigate the preset library. So if I was doing the same kind of song or whatever, lo-fi, down-tempo, chill, electro, whatever, I could select a few here: calm, chilled, I don't know, maybe dark too, because I don't want anything to be too abrasive. And then let's just see what we get. We've got some dope stuff. So that's like not an aggressive pattern, so it makes sense that it would come up there. Pretty minimal, again, not too fast, not too aggressive. Dark, I could see this coming up for dark. Maybe dark is also like evil dark. So it's fun to browse through moods because they are subjective sometimes, but they can also help you narrow down your search. Like if you were looking for pop and only aggressive, like let's actually do that real quick as a last example. I'm curious what would come up, because a lot of these combinations I've never tested. I've never browsed so specifically too much. So if we do pop and then we do, let's do aggressive, just see what comes up here.
Do we do a couple questions in a bit?
Yeah, are there questions? I haven't really been looking. There's a couple.
Yeah, that's why I just didn't want to interrupt
Please.
you.
Yeah,
Because,
please.
can I use a controller with 16 pads and assign each individual pad? I believe you can, right?
16 pads and assign the pads?
Just like an NPC or something like that, or machine or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, everything's mapped to MIDI, so if you assign the MIDI notes, it should work.
Which street do I find $20 on?
I don't know. Yeah, maybe Beatmaker Street.
Beat Street. Do you plan to add more Beatmaker titles this year?
Yes. So that's another part of this initiative. I was explaining the philosophy of the upgrade. And now is a good time to dip into the new title a little bit, I think, because Chromed, this one is like a hyperpop glitchcore, like wild and wonky type title, totally new. We used a specific artist we worked with to create the content that works in this genre. Her name is Babii, Babii. She's really cool. She's really friendly. And the sounds in here, like, they're just so engaging and fun and abstract and even aggressive. Oh, I stepped through the preset list, my bad, so I've got to load Chromed again. But yeah, to answer the question, yeah, we're doing a lot of titles. So part of what we did here is make things a little bit more universal for the catalog, meaning it's easier to navigate the catalog. It also makes more sense to add more titles for us. So we are planning to shoot out somewhere between 3 and 5 new titles in the coming months in the second half of the year, and we'll be pumping them out as quickly as we can, because it's exciting to have new content, because the product only becomes more useful and more valuable with more titles and more sounds and more presets, you know. And throughout time, we also we hope to shape some of this like browsing experience a bit more, to make sure that the system is working for the user, really.
Somebody's hoping for an Afrobeat beatmaker.
Yeah, that is one that is on the horizon secretly between us. That is definitely...
Don't tell anybody.
We ran a survey, actually. We surveyed our users. Maybe some of you are in the chat. If anyone received an email newsletter or a survey question, we did ask. We put out a couple of feelers for 5 different titles or so, and we did get clear votes on a couple of them. So Afrobeats was up there. We also had a minimal ambient title that was voted highly, and a industrial EBM. So those, just to name a few that we're going to start maybe working on. Those were chosen kind of by the community. So yeah, the goal is to add a lot of titles. Someone in the chat said Chromed is the best title yet. I feel that way too, just because it's fun. It's the first one that was designed on the new platform. But every new title, I think, is going to feel that way, because we want to keep it really fresh and inspiring.
Yeah, I kind of want to do a new drum and bass one.
Yeah, we're due to revamp some older titles too. Like, I'm sure there's a lot we can do in the rap scene that we haven't touched on.
Yeah.
Even lo-fi. I love cozy, but you can never have enough lo-fi kits, you know. So
Oh, somebody says trance. That's funny because I think I pitched one at some point. So we'll see what happens. But it's also shout out to everybody in the chat because I see some names that keep coming up. So and we definitely appreciate your support. Like when you guys keep showing up, I don't know. And this kind of engagement is kind of cool when you where you guys get. I think it's cool both ways. You guys get to ask questions, we get to answer them, and just having instant feedback is just amazing. So
Yeah.
thank you guys.
It's also cool to see so many like friendly and positive remarks, like someone saying the UI of Chromed, the visuals are cool, the best in their opinion. This is really cool. Yeah, the support is really great. We love to hear um, your excitement because we're excited too, and we put a lot of time into all this, so it's really nice. So thank you for +1 to what Daniel said. Thanks for being active and supporting and asking questions. If there's stuff you don't understand, that's why we're here too. So if you don't understand things or if things frustrate you, we also want to hear that too because we care mostly about how these products are working for you, the user. So
Yeah. We have somebody asking if it's also suitable for creating trailer music. And yeah, absolutely it is. Especially, I mean, it depends on what kind of movie or film trailers you're making, but especially Nemesis, which
yeah, I was gonna
I
load
did
that.
the sound design for, that was specifically made for like more sci-fi kind of dark trailer stuff. So yeah, absolutely. And in fact, actually, Cozy was used in a Netflix show.
hmm
Um,
Yeah, what was it called? Sakamoto Days or something?
Yeah, some anime. I'm not really in that genre too much, but yeah, but that was it's always kind of cool to see those real life examples, you know.
hmm
So, yeah.
Not to mention, I've actually written a number of lo-fi songs with Cozy kits that ended up getting Apple Music editorials. So
Oh, where's my share?
you don't get a share because I bought Cozy. So
Oh, damn.
yeah, but no,
We'll talk.
the sounds are really diverse. I wanted to pop back into Chromed again because I didn't play too many sounds of Chromed, but
Good.
I'm just gonna step through a few presets for those who haven't played with Chrome yet. Whoops, hang on, what happened? I always change my browser view and then it freaks out because I'm doing weird filtration. So if we're in Chromed here, I'm gonna actually just filter for Chromed, and then let's see some tags actually. Techno minimal. Oh, it's because I have a tempo. That's why I never changed the tempo thing. Whoops, that's my bad. So there's a lot of quicker stuff in Chromed because it's hyperpop, so it's like crazy. So you double click something from the list and it'll load. That's a crazy one. I can see that going hard in like a dance hall in Brooklyn, where I am. Like just people go nuts. Cool. A lot of funky sounds.
Yeah.
And one thing I do actually, I'm gonna set all the effects down so I can showcase the hyperdrive, which is the special control in this title. So let's pick a kit. That's cool. So hyperdrive is a unique effect. We had this kind of a lot of songs we referenced. We were like, this style of music it does this crazy thing sometimes where like things sound really chambery and like drums sound metallic and like almost like future chrome. Like that's kind of where inspiration came from for the naming. Like this chromed like future digital, but also Y2K, like kind of nostalgic vibe. And that sonic quality we wanted to achieve in the special control, because again, the special control in a title is meant to be like one unique control that speaks and breathes that genre and really just adds that essence. So I'll dial that in so you can hear what it sounds like in this title. So it's like weird and wonky. It kind of gets like, there's like some feedback resonators. There's a little bit of probably slapback reverb. Yeah, our sound designer went overboard, and it's awesome. Same with some of the mix modes here. Like there was one that I really liked. I think it was Destroyer. It's just so over the top that it's perfect for the genre. Like that's crazy distortion. Yeah, Chromed is awesome. I can't speak enough about it. So definitely in the chat. Again, that's the title we're raffling off. So
Exactly. Yeah. So be active in the chat. I'm gonna see. Buying an expansion for $29 will upgrade to version 3. Yes, absolutely. You buy any any new title, which is still on the intro sale right now. I think until I don't want to lie.
I
I
don't
don't know,
remember when it ends. Yeah, let me see if I
but
have that info.
it's still going on. So whatever title you buy, and I think it is like what, $29 right now?
Yeah, so the details we have here, if you're an existing UJAM user, meaning you own any UJAM product, then if you can get just the upgrade. If you don't want to buy a new title, it's $19, and that'll upgrade all your existing titles. So that's just buying the upgrade. But then you can buy any new title. So Chrome's for $29. This will also upgrade all of your own
All your
licenses. So any purchase will upgrade everything you have. That's the benefit. We don't make you buy every title again, because it's more just like it's an upgrade to everything you own. We're not repackaging it and trying to sell it for more money again. It's the same. Like, we're not trying. There's no tricks here, you know.
Yeah, and especially then with all the already existing titles that you have from version 2 or whatever, like they will all live within version 3, so that's kind of cool. Let's see. Berserk could be nice in a game soundtrack like Doom. Man,
I
that's the coolest thing I heard because I love Doom
was
and I
gonna
actually
say.
did the sound design for Berserk, so
I was gonna say
that,
big inspiration
that
for you.
might
Yeah.
yeah, that might have been something in there. Um,
Um,
yeah.
Someone said, as far as I understand, or Oral Flow said, as far as I understand, your instruments are romblers. I think maybe romplers they mean. Do you plan
hmm
to add features of being able to load custom samples? So there are no plans currently in Beatmaker to import custom samples. That's a feature we've discussed. It does open a bit of a can of worms. I'm not saying no. But in general, right now, we don't currently have a plan on the roadmap to do that. Romplers, that's kind of a term that means different things maybe to different people. But basically, these are all dedicated instruments. So the instrument hasn't changed in terms of the Beatmaker 2 version of Glory, for example. All that content, that instrument is a package of samples, MIDI, effects, sound design. All of it's built on our foundation Gorilla engine, and that instrument is the same here. So it's not really a rompler. It is still loading a full instrument. It's just that the front face and the UI and the interface of the user is one plugin now. So it's the same thing. I mean, maybe that's a rompler. I don't really know the term rompler. To me, it just means it's loading like discs or whatever. But
No, no, no. It's more that it is loading sounds like samples, but I think the fact that we have all those patterns and stuff like that would kind of push it away from that. So yeah, in general, of course, it is accessing the samples it comes with, but I think it's so much more, especially because also when you think about like playing it live and stuff like that. Uh, so yeah, I think it is a lot more, and especially now with the browser and all the titles living in one frame, I don't know, it just gives it a whole different thing now. So
for sure.
yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe a rompler is just sample loading, and it is way more than that, because these effects also, like the mix modes, even the ambiances, it's not the same as like going into Ableton and putting a reverb down and then tweaking the settings. It's actually a dedicated reverb module. Sure, we have the same thing, like you can specify what type of reverb, but then it's like the possibilities under the hood in the scripting are endless. So the sound designers can filter everything, modulate everything, EQ anything, compress any, like it's any sequence of effects that they want, really, in the same way that a DAW is, in order to achieve one unique control that's perfectly stepped across the parameter. So we
Yeah.
basically like we'll pick a set of what's the vision for this title. This is hyperpop. We'll speak to the artist. We'll get a consultation, like, what do you think would be useful in this genre? And they'll
hmm
explain XYZ, and then the sound designer goes crazy and makes like the best stuff that fits that description.
That's that specific. That's the thing because they're all about being really authentic for that specific genre. So, and that is not just the sounds and not just the patterns, but literally all of it, even the special control. I mean, like Adam said, I think in Dope, didn't we have? I think we. I don't know if that's still in there because like it's been a while since I did Dope, but we have the vinyl crackle and stuff. Is that still in there? I'm not even sure. Um,
That should be the special control, yeah.
I think it is, right? And because we also kind of have something similar in Cozy, where it also kind of adds some crackling and makes it kind of
Yeah,
like lo-fi-ish.
which
Somebody
makes
says Prodigy's earlier albums. The problem about doing a beat maker like that is because the Prodigy, especially in the first album experience, they sampled a lot of breakbeats, so that's kind of hard to do for the type of samples we're using, because then you would have to chop up the breakbeats and then it wouldn't really work that well anymore.
Wow,
Yeah.
I'm actually loving some of these comments. These are really nice. Yeah, someone said that's what makes the difference. Other brands don't care if the customer have already version Y or Z. That's the way. So they're admiring our pricing model. That's really nice. Then someone else said, Minito M said, however, the new UI might need some getting used to. It's easy to notice the whole new features are really well thought through. That's really cool because that's kind of what we gambled on. We were like, yeah, we understand that we're changing a couple key components for existing users. And we did get some frustrated users like saying, why did you change this? I was so used to it. But there are a couple of pointers there. One is that you can still access the old versions. We're not going to take those away from you. And the second one is if you want the new titles, they will be in this new model. You can get them whenever you're ready. There's no, it's pretty affordable. It's not like we're not trying to strip you down and like take you for all you have and all that. So I think that was a really nice comment to see because there were a lot of people that were frustrated that we were talking with, about this. And we knew that changing some of these fundamental layouts and decisions, it was a bit of a risk with our existing users specifically, although it is a better experience for newer users or less experienced users. But ultimately, it was a risk we decided to take because we tested it with a set of people in interviews and surveys, and we thought that it was the right move for the product. So that was a really cool comment. I thank you for saying that.
Yeah, I think change is always kind of like, at first, it's like, especially if it's something you've used for years, it's like, why did they change it? But I do agree. It's like it seems more intuitive.
Yeah,
And,
someone said, I got Circuits standalone. Will it be integrated into BM? Yeah, Circuits is already on the new platform, so you can upgrade. You can either upgrade alone for $19 to get the license, or you could buy a new title for only $29, and then you'll also get your existing Circuits onto Beatmaker 3. But yeah, Circuits is right here. I have it here. So the proof is in front of you now. It is on Beatmaker 3. Okay, let's see. Where do we leave off with the walkthrough? So we took a look at the title view, the browser, the loaded title view.
Do the pattern now.
Yeah, the loop. So the next step here is the loop browser. And so when I'm on the title view here, like I said, you know how there's this pencil button I pointed out earlier. I said I would come back to this, and here we are. If you're changing, that it's reverb because I added an Ableton reverb. I was confused. I was like, why is there so much reverb? So if I don't like, I'm going to go to a slower tempo here. Actually, let's work more with a use case here. I have a little demo. Here's another little demo here. I found these two random loops. I was thinking, let's make an easy lo-fi type thing in as little work as possible. My Ableton freaks out when I play something, which it's doing right now. All right, sorry about that. So yeah, that's what the loops that I found sounded like, and then I had a drum beat here from Cozy.
Dope.
And again, that nostalgia control, that's what Daniel was talking about. In Dope, it's a vinyl drive, so it's kind of like an overblast, like boombox vinyl. And then in Cozy, it's more of that degradation nostalgia crackle. I'll dial that in now. And then what I was going to show you though is the patterns here. So now let's say I was just playing, I'm going to copy one of these MIDI clips over here, so that it's not playing full MIDI files, but just the phrase key, because then I'll change the phrases here. So here we go. And again, we have a player sync thing that I didn't change back. So here we go. So let's say I don't like that phrase. Now I hit the pencil key, and you'll notice now we're in a loop browser. And this is a brand new browser that also didn't exist in Beatmaker 2. And similarly to the global preset browser, it makes things way more accessible by filtering for a couple important criteria, and allowing you to swap things out on the keys. So one thing you can do now that you couldn't do in Beatmaker 2 is swapping out phrases that are maps to the keys, and that will save in a preset too. So you can build a custom arrangement and then save it in a preset, and it'll recall. So that's something you could never do in Beatmaker 2. They were static, and you couldn't shuffle them around or anything. So when I'm browsing for loops within Cozy, it's showing me all of the patterns within Cozy, and you'll see at the top right here there are 460. And that's really back to that Rompler question. There's so much MIDI in every single title.
Yeah.
Like, it's actually a bit of a backbreaker to create a title, but we do it because...
I was gonna say, because that was always the creating the kits itself. I mean, that's obviously, we put a lot of work into that, but also those patterns, and especially considering a lot of the controls, like the swing and stuff like that, you know, to make that possible, you had to program that into MIDI. So that was with every title, that was pretty much what we spent most time on, was really the patterns, actually, because also there are so many of them.
Yeah, exactly. And this view is really cool because you can navigate them by song structure type. So like on the keyboard layout, they're labeled like you can see in the new Beatmaker, we have actually these like 2-letter descriptors as well as the labels above. So you can really see where the choruses, verses, and fills are. You can drag them out to the DAW, but now you can filter for those in the loop browser. So if I only want choruses, personally, when I use these, I usually only use choruses, verses, and fills because they're most useful for me getting ideas out. So I can filter for choruses and verses. The general mentality and mindset of these is the same as in Beatmaker 2, where, because it's the same content. So verse 1 to verse 5 usually increases in intensity. So like if I play verse 5 here, and then I go down to verse 1, you can see that it's the same like trope, the same motif, but it's expanded on. But so it's really nice to be able to look at different options. And when I preview these, it's actually going to play the kit that was loaded. So whatever you're doing in the title view, the preview, as opposed to the global browser where the preview is like printed audio, this preview in the MIDI browser is actually just playing that MIDI pattern when you hit the preview button. So you can hear exactly how it would sound if you were to load it in. Someone said, hey, Adam, which one is your favorite? I love that question. I have 3 that I go to very frequently. I'll come back to the loop browser, but my 3 favorites are probably, it's tough now because Chromed is out and I love Chromes, but before Chromed, it was always Cozy, Glory, and Dope, but my roots are very early 2000s hip hop and like lo-fi, like that's the kind of stuff I love to write. I also really like Circuits because the sounds are really unique. So it's really fun also in chill or minimal genres to have like those computerized percussion sounds. But then Chromed is up there too. So to answer, if I had to pick 3, for my taste, I think I would still stick with Cozy, Glory, and Dope. Yeah. Definitely worth checking out. We had someone in the chat say, looks like I'm going to have to get Cozy because the lo-fi vibes are too real.
Yeah, they are.
Daniel, what are your favorites?
Humanization, yes, there is in the... what's it called? The micro timing controls?
Yeah, the micro timing control depends on the title. We set that depending on the title. It's humanized in Cozy. So you go from being hard quantized to being loose and human as you dial it in. But this control is a little different per title. It depends on what's relevant for the genre. Sometimes you have, like, I think the other title had slack, like this kind of like lag, but they are generally quantization settings. So whether it's doing a hard quantizing or a humanizing or whatever, that's dependent on the title. But yeah, you can find that in the main title view here under the loop playback menu. That's this control. Yeah.
Someone is asking which one is more for game soundtracks. It's I would say Nemesis. Nemesis is probably more Nemesis and Berserk probably. Which one is more softer, lo-fi? Well, Cozy is literally the lo-fi Beatmaker, so that's what we.
Yep. They like the cat too. They've got free trials running. Yeah, glad to hear that you like Cozy. Cozy is actually one of Daniel's products that we worked on together. So you're kind of looking at the team that was involved there, which is fun.
Yeah, it was super fun. It was kind of your vision, and then we kind of worked closely together on that. So
yeah, very fun. Yep. Back to this loop browser, because I want to touch on a couple more things here. Similar to the global browser, you can favorite loops. That's pretty useful if you have patterns that you really like. You can look at the filtered the favorites as well. But one thing that I was going to show you is, so if you want to reassign a key here, where's my MIDI? I'm not triggering in Ableton on this track. There we go. So if I want to build a custom style set on the keyboard, I would find something that I want, and then I can click and drag it onto that key, and I'll drop it. And then now I see there's actually a number that'll say where it's assigned. So if you scroll through the list, you'll actually see the ones that are assigned there. But this one, so you can hear that it changed now, and now it's permanently on my keyboard. If I go back to the main view, it's still there, like it translates. Similarly, you can actually drag straight from the browser into the DAW, which is really helpful. So you don't have to load it and then drag it from the key. We just thought that would be unnecessary. And then another really neat feature actually is this little dot matrix visualizer. So you actually can see when you're hovering and browsing, you can see a little like visualization of what the pattern kind of is. So like that one, yeah, when I looked at that one, I would expect more of like a straight groove. Like there's nothing really shuffled. It maybe is slower. This one, let's see. Let's look for some iconic looking ones. A lot of these in Cozy might be a little similar. This one has some kind of hat pattern or something that's quicker. Yeah. So visually you can get an indication of the energy, which is really cool. And that was new for us too. That's not anywhere in Beatmaker 2. And it's just like a fun little browsing tool. It's not super, super useful, but it does help bring the experience to life a bit, in my opinion. And then, yeah, similarly, you can pick a full style from Cozy. So if I pick, and that's the same as on the main title view when you load styles here, same as Beatmaker 2. In the Loop browser, you can load a style and also view any of the phrases from that style in one view. So you'll see I think there's like 23 or so styles in each, or phrases in each style. Yeah.
Yeah, it's 23. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's the Loop browser. It's another brand new view to Beatmaker 3. And now we are entering our final main view. And again, I want to reiterate the raffle we're doing. If you're active in the chat, showing support or asking questions, your name will be entered to win a new copy. We're giving 2 copies away, so there will be 2 winners of the title Chromed, which is the new hyperpop glitchcore kind of digital title that we released.
Simon will raffle that out, and he's you can definitely bribe him. He likes fruit.
Yeah, if you send him a fruit bouquet or whatever.
An apple.
Yeah. But yeah, so stay active and you might win a copy of Chromed. And if I'm not mistaken, if you win Chromed, I would also assume all of your existing Beatmakers are upgraded. So pretty valuable upgrade. So we'll see. But let's see. The last view here is the mixer, and this is where a lot of the existing user feedback came into play. So we analyzed the Beatmaker 2 model quite heavily. We made a bunch of different documents of things we could and should improve. We categorized them. We drew hypotheses. We tested them in surveys, and then we brought those respondents into Zoom calls and did interviews. And this is really where we identified some really easy improvements that just were flaws in the old model. And what those are, the first thing is just a dedicated mixer view, just simple, just a universal language, vertical track mixers that people understand, because this was the mixer in quotes before. It's this kind of bust approach where you click and then this same little section will change to reflect the toggle. Which is not very clear to visualize everything at once. Having a knob for a volume, you can't really get a quick visualization of how the kit is mixed down. You can't access controls. There were no controls for pan. The pan of the instruments was baked into the kits that users couldn't change. That was an important thing. People wanted to be able to pan the instruments, which is a totally valid request. And then there used to be this like master section with the saturate control that would just affect everything. That is now an individual track level control. So you don't have to saturate the kick if you don't want to. You can saturate every element that you choose. But otherwise it works the same. So basically the only changes we've made have really just added more control in this view, and hopefully also made more intuitive. And the resizing of the plugin is also improved. This can go way bigger. I don't know how it's going to fit in my live stream window. I'm going to have to check the stream in a few seconds when it catches up, but you can go way bigger. A lot of users were complaining they couldn't make the plugin big enough. You can go small, you can go big, you can go any size you want, which is great. I think it is cut off now, so I'm going to make it a little smaller. But yeah, so now you have track level control. You still have mute and solo for different track elements. At the bottom here, if you're like working on a kit, you can choose to show the one shots if I'm finger drumming, or I can show the loop keys and play a phrase. Because then you can actually see the meters of what elements are being triggered. Same on the one shots. The real-time display of playing a phrase is new to Beatmaker 3. When you go to the title view and you trigger a loop here, and then it shows you actually what one shots are being triggered when. That makes it really easy for me to be like, that's not the snare I want, because I saw it light up, and then I can go change the snare or do whatever I need to, and also in the mixer. So yeah, the mixer view, you've got dedicated tracks for every instrument in the kit. You've got a pan control, which is new. You've got an independent ambience send. You've got a filter. I'm going to just play with this so you can hear. So I'm going to turn the ambience on this down. So now my snare is dry. I'll turn the effects off too. So we got a dry snare. I can pan it. You should have stereo audio, I hope. Filtering is just a bipolar filter. And these controls seem simple, but they're really actually valuable when you're doing a mix down and you're just like, oh, that cymbal is just a little too bright. Let's just tone it down a little. And then saturate, which adds this nice, like, subtle beefiness to everything. So those are the controls you have over every sound. You also have mute and solo, and then this is actually where you can route tracks out of the instrument. So that's another big improvement in Beatmaker 2. You used to have to do this sort of, it's like this cycle, this like, the routing is like, these are the one shots and they get sent through, you see the connecting line, they get sent through the mixer bus, which affects every track, and then they get sent and linked over to the master. But in Beatmaker 2, you used to have to select that you want to output them individually. And by doing that, you'll see this link is broken, so you're not hitting the master bus anymore. You're only getting the raw kit sample or the raw sounds. But in Beatmaker 2, another big flaw that users were complaining about and requesting we fix is that the individual output was actually bypassing the mix mode too. So if I heard a preset and it sounded perfect, like let's say it was already sitting perfectly in my mix, and then I routed everything outwards, it would sound just different. It would sound raw. It wouldn't sound like it had the mix mode on it because it didn't. So we did fix that in the new Beatmaker. There is now post-fader individual output. So if you route things to external channels and then set them up in your DAW, you will hear them with the mix mode now, which is actually essential. And then that was just something that was not in Beatmaker 2. You will still bypass these master controls. So the only two master controls now are the sweep and the maximizer. So obviously routing them separately will bypass those master controls, but you still have the same essence and the same character that you were originally hearing. So that was a big improvement for us too. Yeah, let's see. Looks like a lot of new things in V3. That's true. Will there be an option using multi-out to have all outs still go through the internal processing? Yeah, that's what I was talking about. It does still go through the mix mode processing. And maybe you're a Beatmaker 2 user, and that's exactly why you're asking that question. So that is something that we fixed. Can you demo Void? Yeah, you can do a trial of any title for 7 days each. Cool. So mixer view, I think we covered everything. These controls at the top are the same as in the main view because these are the main sound editing controls. So when you're in mixer view, you might still want to do the overall ambience send, change the ambience mode, the special control. So these are still important to have in mixer view. We don't want the users to have to be jumping around so much because at the end of the day, it's about efficiency and creativity. So.
Oh, I got winners. I got some winners.
Cool. He did the raffle already?
Yeah, and actually because of the high demand, we decided to give out 3 copies.
Ooh.
Should we do it? Should we do it now or wait? I mean, now
Let's do reveal one of them now, and then in 2 minutes reveal another. Like,
all
let's
right,
keep people
it
engaged.
is okay. One of you won chromed, and that is the Monkey Farm. So congrats.
Hey, congratulations to the Monkey Farm for winning Beatmaker CHROMED.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. Yeah, and then I was just wrapping up thoughts here. I think I covered mostly everything. So again, the main thing here is we've got this navigating system. There are a couple other controls, like there's a master volume at the top, save as for presets. The preset browser will actually open the browser view if you click it at the top. You can favorite from there too. But this general frame structure, like this tab, we called this the sidebar navigator. This is really the new philosophy here. We were identifying that there are key views in Beatmaker 3 that are essential to the workflow, and these are the main views. There's the loaded active title, the global browser, the title, the loop browser, and then, sorry, the title browser, the loop browser, and then the mixer. And there is an ordering of this. So you start at the top, imagine the whole Beatmaker catalog as a funnel, and so separate from your loaded title, the first is the widest funnel. The preset browser shows you anything, even if you don't own it. It shows you just how presets sound. You can filter for presets, start trials, whatever. But then you zoom in a little bit and you see all the titles. And then from the title view, you get a little more granular because the loop browser actually browses loops within the loaded title. So it's basically a funnel of like granularity, and the mixer's at the bottom, because that's the most granular you'll be. So I think that might help your workflow too, is like maybe if you're casting a wider net, you start at the top here and you browse, and then you get more specific as you go through the tabs. So that's the mindset that we applied to the UX here.
Mm-hmm. I don't think we'll do standalone versions.
Yeah, there's not a plan to do a standalone Beatmaker as of now. I don't know if there's much value in that, at least currently how it works. Can you go through kits inside Void? I'm too lazy to demo. I'll load it. Yeah, Daniel, what were you going to say, though?
I was going to announce another winner.
Yeah, please do, because we are actually over time. So announce the second and the third winners of CHROMED.
I hope I'm not butchering this. Arbiter. So that's the next winner. And then Anuka. I'm not going to even butcher your name. I'm sorry. I don't want to. Anuka, you won.
Anuka K, right? Starts with a K.
Yep. And then Arbiter is the second one. So there we go.
Yeah, someone asked how do I get the code? Monkey Farm, the winner. I think you just get in touch with us on socials. Usually people message the Instagram account and they'll set up your email and all that. But Simon, whoever's running the UGM account now, just give them a little instruction in the chat and it should be good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but so let's play some Void samples as requested by Monkey Farm, and then I think we'll probably wrap it up unless there's some final questions. We'll leave one more chance for questions here. But let's go through some Void presets here. Let's actually... Cool. Let's see what this sounds like. I'm at the slow tempo again. Let's crank the tempo up.
Yeah, go to 174, please.
174. Well, I've got it at 140. Let's go higher.
Nope. Drum and bass, son.
Is it that high? Really?
Yep.
I guess if you want to sweat, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Cardio music.
Cardio music. Step through. Cool. Yeah, I'm not a drum and bass guy, so I haven't used much of Void, actually. That is some quick stuff, though. That's high energy.
I took you to a rave one time.
Yeah, I've heard it. I know what it is, obviously.
Yeah, but I mean last year.
That was cool. Daniel brought me to an underground nightclub for D&B, and he did a surprise. His project is called Rusher, and he did like a... Well, you played a few songs, right?
Yeah, I played a new track that came out, I think, a month later or something. Yeah, Adam was in Germany. He was chilling with me, and I took him to this club. I think the day before you flew out, right? The next morning you were supposed to
I had like an early flight, and I was like out at 1 a.m. at the drum and bass club.
Exactly.
Things are different over in Germany.
Facts. The club closed, by the way. That one is not
really
existing anymore. Yep.
Yeah, so Void, I mean, I only stepped through a couple presets, but I think you should honestly just get the trial. If you're actually curious about what's in Void, I don't want to only show you a handful and then make a decision, but yeah.
That we got another question. Will you be doing the combined interface for drummer series? Probably, because I mean, if you think about it, we already have that for the pianist. In a similar way where you can browse through the titles through with one plugin, and also the USynth series so far, right?
Yeah,
and I think that's the only thing.
I will say that it's not yet planned on the roadmap. There's a lot of stuff we're working on and dedicated to, but being that we did Beatmaker already, I think the lowest hanging fruit is probably Virtual Drummer, because some of the language is the same. The mixer might be the same, the phrase and loop arrangement, it's the same nature of instrument, so that might make the most sense to do next, but we really don't know yet, so I don't want to put out any false promises. I would be excited to do that though, personally, as a user, because I love the Virtual Drummer plugins. Like, they're one of my favorite series. So yeah. So yeah, I think the chat has slowed down. I think we're going to call it there. Thank you for tuning in. This was really, really fun for us to show you just like hands-on why everything exists and like what it means. And hopefully you go start some trials or pick up some licenses and get producing, because Beatmaker is now a really, really cool tool to efficiently produce out demos and songs and browse for new stuff. So that was the main goal, and I think we've achieved that. You've got such a dense, look at this dense list of presets, 1,600 almost.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Tiny scroll bar. And that's going to grow, as we said. We're working on new titles already, so keep an eye out for those new titles. But this has been a wonderful live stream. If you have more questions, our support team is really great. Also, our social media teams are great. If you leave a comment or if you message us, we're highly responsive and highly engaged with our user base, because we care probably more than other companies about our users. So
I was gonna say, because I think especially Beatmaker 3 kind of proves exactly that, because a lot of the stuff added were based on feedback. So yeah, so just know, guys, when you write us something, it actually reaches us, we actually read it, and so I think this is proof for it. Yeah,
pretty frequently you've actually got co-founders reading messages and replying in groups, so I think that we're a unique case at UGEM. So your comments do go a long way, and even the people that are annoyed by this update or frustrated by the changes, we're actually already planning to start interviewing those people directly, because that's not something we want to overlook. We care a lot about passionate responses. So definitely reach out at any point. But yeah, thanks again, everybody. Have a great rest of your week. This has been awesome, and we'll catch you next time. See you.
Have a good one. Thank you.
Apocalypse, who's stopping this?